It's day 322. The young Abdullah gained true patience. As always, the good were mixed with the bad, and they were living together. The Prophet, for whose sake the entire universe was created, always had the grace to respond to every evil thing done to him with goodness and kindness. Abdullah bin Ubay had spent his life saying bad things about the Prophet. For years and years, he had worked against Islam. He had given the secrets of the Muslims to the enemies of Islam. Although the Prophet knew about all of this, he used to treat him with kindness and respect. But since he knew his character, he didn't tell him important secrets. Those who knew him used to say, "O Messenger of Allah, leave him to us. Let us take care of him." The Prophet would say, "No, treat him gently. As long as he is around us, keep him as a friend." Abdullah bin Ubay had a very intelligent son. His name was also Abdullah. And unlike the faithlessness of his father, he had great faith. He used to love the Prophet very much. If the Prophet had kicked out Abdullah, the father, the son would have been forced to stay away from the Prophet, and he would have had doubts about exactly who the Prophet was. Those who had been surprised at the Prophet's patience with Abdullah, the father, came to realize how right the Prophet was when they saw the love and loyalty of his son for the Prophet. Abdullah's son was aware of all the evil things his father used to do to hinder Islam. He did everything possible, but he was not successful. Then one day, everyone heard of the death of Abdullah after a life passed in hypocrisy and treason. His son came to the Prophet and asked for his father's forgiveness. The Prophet always loved to forgive, so he forgave Abdullah too. And again, at the request of his son, he took off his jacket and gave it as the burial shroud for Abdullah. Not only that, he also said the funeral prayer for Abdullah. Seeing how the Prophet conducted himself, the friends of Abdullah were very embarrassed. It had a great impact on them. The Prophet saying a funeral prayer for someone who had kept talking behind his back for a whole lifetime had softened their hearts. Many of them wanted and decided to be real and sincere Muslims. The Messenger of Allah, who had not confronted an enemy for what he was doing, but rather waited patiently, gained one of his own sons. Again, because of the limitless understanding he had showed towards him, thousands of hypocrites finally found the right path. All this was accomplished because of his patience, love, and tolerance.